Historians look to the year 1626, the year of the worst calamitous trade in human history. The island of Manhattan swapped for about $24 to a Dutch company. Urban legend, may or may not have happened. Sports buffs. Sports fans can tell you the worst trade in that sport's history. Typically, they'll think it's a trade that their own team made. But all those trades, all those mistakes, all those tragic errors pale in comparison to the horrendous trade in Parashat Toldot. Let's see. On the one hand, Bechor, legacy, Avraham's chosen child, grandchild, history, the vanguard of humanity, living with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On the other hand, some chili, plate of beans. Doesn't make sense, doesn't stack up. What was Esav thinking? How could he commit such a terrible folly? Well, we have a bit of an answer in Esav's own words, because Esav gives us a keyhole into his mind. Hinei anochi olech lamos v'lama zeli bechora. Esav looks at human mortality. As much as we try to change this world and to impact this world and to advance this world, the world continues. It feels fixed. We inhabit this earth for a fleeting 80, 100, 150 years in those days. And all of our efforts are washed away by the sands of time, reversed by our successors. All the waters flow to the sea, as Shlomo Melech. Esav just got finished reading Koheles, and he realizes the futility of it all. He becomes a fatalist, and he becomes incapacitated, and his vision is crippled, and his ambition is handicapped. And so we're all facing mortality in ways that we hadn't before during the corona crisis. And you could respond as Esav did, despairing about the impact of human lives and how much can we really change the stars and then this world feel fixed and immovable and rigid. Or you can choose to sense that you're part of something larger than yourself, a historical lineage, a parade of humanity, a particular national trajectory of Jewish history. People have come before you. People will succeed you. People will look to you and your lives for meaning. How did you change? How did you renovate this earth for the improvement of those who will follow in your wake? How did you contribute in ways that other people will adopt and then transform? So we stand at a crossroads when we look out into the great beyond, into the darkness and the fragility of the human experience. And we're going to either be saddened by it, maddened by it. How could it be so pointless? How could life be so brittle? How could human accomplishment be so empty? We could find meaning in our belonging to something larger and in that community, the parade that we're a part of. And it must be difficult for Esav to sense that. He's a hunter. He's involved in a dog-eat-dog world of violence and aggression, of self-centric. If I hunt, I eat. If I don't hunt, I don't eat. And I starve. Rather than living in a community, raising livestock, raising sheep, cooperation, collaboration. It's hard. Esav's a product of the survival of the fittest, and his reality is defined solely by the meaning that he senses in his own life rather than something larger. And to Esav, you can identify. So maybe the beans are a little tastier than I thought, because all this Bechor stuff, it's all just a grand illusion. But there's a different issue that Esav is facing. Rashi says, he's not just considering or pondering mortality, he's also sizing up his whole package, this whole offer of being a Bechor. The Bechors in those days were Siro Kohanim. They served in the Beis HaMikdash. And Esav didn't read Koheles, he reads Seder Kodshim. Seder Kodshim, Esav learns Mishnayos Kodshim. And a lot that could go south. There's a lot that could go wrong in the Beis HaMikdash. Pigul, Nosar, Tameh, Yotze, Lina. There's so many Tumah, so many concerns, and many of them net very severe punishments. So Esav says, this is going to kill me. This Bechor is going to kill me. Why should I choose it? Once again, Esav fails. Is that how we see religion? As a fusillade of thunderbolts and lightning, as a stream of pain and penalties and punishments? Or do we see religion as incredibly powerful and empowering, noble and uplifting, transcendent, a search for something beyond the minutiae of our lives, the insignificance of human experience, rendered more potent by the encounter with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And of course, part of what protects and preserves that gravitas and that splendor is that there are consequences. Consequences in life shouldn't crush us. Living a life of responsibility with shoulders broad enough to bear ramification, consequence, responsibility. That's the life of conscience. That's a life of mission. That's a life of living beyond yourself. But we don't frame religion as religion of suffering and penalty and death. It's a religion of life and empowerment and glory. And Nadav and Avihu stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Parashat Shmini like the other citizens of Am Yisrael cannot. And because they freelance and because they ad hoc, they're severely punished. Bikrov HaKadosh, but not because HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates a religion that's pivoted or fastened to punishment. It's because standing in the Beis HaMikdash, you're engaged in an experience that's so unique and that's so impactful that if it goes sideways, there are consequences. So Esav doesn't see that. Esav just is obsessed, maybe in a selfish way, maybe in a cowardly way. He's just obsessed with the prospect of death, rather than facing those prospects, having shoulders broad enough to bear the weight of the possibility of failure, but engaging because that same system, whose failure leads to consequences, also offers great rewards for success. So Esav commits the worst trade for one of two reasons, and probably both, because he isn't able to interpret the limitations of human mortality into something larger, and because he sees religion in all the wrong ways. Shabbat Shalom.